Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Flipside podcast. I am your host, Retro Ralph, and we are here for episode 31. There's been so much going on in pinball. New games are dropping like it seems every day, but there's been a little tiny lull in the new games coming out because there's one giant, massive IP coming out, and it's the next one. We all know that it's Harry Potter. Jersey Jack said so. And that's the bottom line, because Jersey Jack said so. No, but actually, by the way, it was kind of funny because the way Jack did promote that almost seemed like he was tapping into his inner Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think. But anyway, this is it. This is the final countdown. Now, we don't know when it's coming, but we can put in a little bit of speculation in here. But I know I'm really excited because what are they going to do with this massive, massive IP that everyone is definitely waiting for in the pinball community? And there's a lot of excitement behind it. But before we dive into that and some other topics, we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Flip N Out Pinball. Are you looking for a new pinball machine, a used pinball machine, or to trade in your old pinball machine for something new? Look no further than Flip N Out Pinball. They can handle all your pinball needs. They ship anywhere in the United States, and they will give you the best experience in the business. Check out the link to Flip N Out Pinball in the video description for more information. Now, back to the video. All right, so guys, that was our little ad for Flip N Out Pinball. Thank you for the sponsorship, Zach and Nicole Minnie. I will tell you this. So listen to me here. If you have any games that you need to get rid of, trade in, whatever, because you're looking for the new games. Times are a little tough, money might be a little tight, but maybe there's some stale games in your collection. Let's move those on. Zach and Nicole Minnie can do, my mic is a little hot here. Zach and Nicole Minnie can do some awesome trades for you guys. They make it pretty painless. They ship fast, and they got a bunch of games, both used inventory and new inventory. So if you're looking for that new King Kong, or you're looking to put some money down towards a new Harry Potter, a Dune, whatever it might be, or Evil Dead. Actually, those you can't get Evil Deads. We're going to talk about Evil Dead. By the way, thank you, Spooky Pinball. I am now an official Spooky shill. We'll talk a little bit about that shill word. It is kind of funny because I think, man, so sick of that word, but it is funny. I can have some fun with it, but I'm so sick of the word and the way that it gets used out there in the community. But anyways, guys, let's dive right into it. So we had so many games come out, right? We've got we had Evil Dead come out. It's almost like, how can you forget about Evil Dead? We talked about it on the JBS show. If you're unfamiliar with the JBS show, it's a roundtable podcast that I do with myself, Cale Hernandez, and Jamie Burchell of the JBS show, formerly of Wormhole Pinball. And it's just a fun thing. I'd say what differentiates it from maybe other podcasts is we have a very, very loose agenda, and it's just kind of like three dudes hanging out talking pinball. We each actually are, at least the way we're going to move the show forward is we're each going to have the topics for whatever week is our week. So far, it's been Jamie's week and Cale's week, or sorry, not week, but month. The show is going to be monthly, and then I will have mine probably in June. So sometime in June, my agenda for that will be, but that'll be interesting because by the next episode, I'm thinking Harry Potter will have come out. So let's just recap the games that came out really quick. We had a lot of them, right? We had so many games, and they were all kind of on top of each other. You know, first you had King Kong. We'll rewind a little bit. You had Dune. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I haven't had my coffee or any caffeine this morning. I'm trying to think of the order of the way they even came out. Because you had Merlin's Arcade, you had Dune, you had Medieval Madness Remake, which was like the Merlin something edition or whatever the heck it was. Then you had Evil Dead. I'm not doing this in order of what they came out. And then, yeah, I think King Kong. I probably said these all over again. I'm like seriously losing my mind. There's just so many. And then, now we're going to have Harry Potter. So before we get into Harry Potter, because there's a ton of anticipation for this. You know, Jack was at, I can't remember if it was TPF. I think it was TPF. So he's out. Yeah, it was 100% TPF. And he just like dropped the bomb. He's like, yeah, our next, and I made a joke video about this because it seemed like the crowd like didn't even care. And I think they did care. They were just so shocked that Jack, normally a pinball company isn't going to go to a show like that and be like, yeah, our next title is this. And Jack did it, and he did it with a lot of confidence. Now, Jack does that, but, you know, I've gotten to know Jack a bit over the years, and the guy is a really sweet guy. He's a really nice guy, but I think he's competitive by nature, right? And he wants to, I think his company, Jersey Jack, they have kind of set out since their existence to create a very high-end pinball experience, right? It's from the way it looks, the way it's designed. They really are bold about we don't cut corners on quality or if it's going to be plastics versus some kind of sculpt and the sculpt's going to be a bit more money. They don't manage to build the materials, and they kind of just do it, right? And I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, it's good in the final product. I don't know if it's bad from a business standpoint. I mean, they are backed by, quite a bit of money. So I don't think that it really affects them too much if they decide, hey, we're not going to do this as a flat plastic. We're going to do this as a sculpt so that the game looks nicer. So yeah, you can't really deny that the level of quality they put in the machine is from like a stock machine is second to none. It really is good. So anyway, so with that, well, all those things in mind, what are they going to do with this Harry Potter license, and then when is it actually going to come out? I think it's safe to say that people were thinking it was going to be May 2nd because that's official Harry Potter Day. I don't think the way that it's been launched in the public materials that are out there would kind of say that it's going to be May 2nd. And obviously, it's already past that date. It's May 3rd. If you're listening to this, I'm recording this on Saturday, May 3rd. So they've missed that date, but I don't think they were ever intending on doing anything that date, at least from what I can tell. So my guess would be in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see this game. And when we do see this game, the question is this going to be the Jersey Jack game that you must own? So they're doing some interesting, different things with this launch than they did with other games. For instance, here's one major change. They're saying that they will make as many CEs as there is demand. Now, the CE is it's expensive, right? Their CE, but you could argue their CE definitely has more value than a Stern LE. It just does. You're getting a topper, you're getting why I can't think about the things you're getting. You're getting the topper, you're getting sort of like the newer technology that they have, larger screens. So there's a lot of things you're getting with theirs. The topper especially is just included. So you're getting a bit more with their games. Most of the time you're getting like very funky custom powder coatings. Stern, I'm a little disappointed in Stern's latest. I love the King Kong, by the way. I just got it the other day. We just streamed it last night. And it's a really, really fun game. But I did choose to get the LE on this one. Part of it was because I wanted to get it early. I wanted to get early access to it so I could stream it for you guys, create some content for you guys, and also I wanted that game. But the thing is with this one, and Rudy, when Rudy and I were unboxing it, we're gonna get back to Kong in a second. When we were unboxing it, I was a little disappointed in the fact that the artwork looks nice. They're doing the foiled artwork, but like I end up doing so many things to my Stern games to get them to a level that I like them. Like for instance, every single Stern game that I put out there or that I buy, no matter whether it's an LE, a Pro, or Premium, I use Pinwoofer. So I go with the Pinwoofer amplifier, the Power Wave amplifier. I put their speakers in it, their subwoofer. So like that comes at a cost, and I always do that because I don't think the speakers that they put in the LE are great. Now, if I compare that to the stock Jersey Jack sound system, their shaker motor just seems like higher quality. The stock audio package seems better, and I like the fact that I can control the volume of my game from outside of my game on a Jersey Jack. I can't do that on a Stern unless I go buy another thing. I got to go buy the headphone port the headphone jack. Now, I've gotten a little bit of wise to that. Now I buy the Pinball Life version of it because it's $50. It just doesn't have the Stern logo, but it does the exact same thing. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in that. Not that I'm trying to say you shouldn't buy the Stern one if that's the one you want, and I know people want to keep it on brand, but the Pinball Life one does exactly the same thing. So anyway, long story short, the Kong LE, I don't know if I feel like I don't know. I probably would have done the premium if I could do it over again, but I really wanted early access to it. So that was the real reason why I got the LE on this one. And I'll tell you from our live stream, we were really enjoying it. But that's not the topic of this. The topic of this is Harry Potter. So we know Harry Potter, there's 8 movies, right? So that alone, when you think about it, like that's a lot of content. And Jack, if we're going by what Jack said, they have all these assets. They have all the assets to the movies. They have He just basically said all the assets. He didn't get specific as to what all the assets mean, but obviously, if you break down a movie, there's a lot that goes into if you say all the assets. So knowing that, let's take that for that. That's fact. They got all these assets. There's 8 movies. It's like, how do you design a pinball machine that does that justice in one pinball experience? That's a lot of content. So I got to think that's a big undertaking for them to figure out how are they going to make that work. I did a little bit of some research because I was curious about Harry Potter because I had watched it with my kids, but I hadn't revisited it in a long time. And we definitely didn't watch all 8 movies. I think we got to like 5 or 6, and then I think my kids lost interest over the years. So then I never went back and watched them. So I'm going back and watching like the first, just to get a little hyped myself for what's to come. I'm watching the Harry Potter films, and they're great movies. Like I didn't realize. I guess I don't know. They were impactful to me, but not to the point I wanted to rewatch them. And now watching them many, many years later, I'm like, wow, these are really actually pretty fun movies. So I think, and there's a lot of moments in there that you could turn into a lot of moments that you could turn into a pinball experience. So we'll see. I mean, Eric Minier is the lead designer. Um, I, I know that he's someone that's really passionate about Harry Potter. So I think they're putting the right person on the job, at least from JJP's bench. And I don't know. I think I'm excited about that. So you got the CE. So here's the breakdown. You got the arcade version. We'll get to that one second. The arcade version, the wizard version, which is their normal LE, and then the CE, which is the collector's edition. So this is what we know about those so far. The arcade edition is something they did. The last time they did that was with Guns N' Roses. And from what I hear, it had marginal success. Like they were not successful in getting that arcade version of the game, into operator locations. Because I think that's the one thing that Jersey Jack has. I think some of their momentum that they have is probably most of their momentum is with the home buyer, and they talk about how their percentage of their percentage of sales is something like 90% home. So Stearns is like 70% home. So Stern definitely has more of a presence on location, and you can go on Pinball Map and really see that, right? That most places operate Stern Pros or Stern Premiums. There are locations that operate LEs. I can't imagine as a business owner why I would want to make a $13,000 investment knowing that I got to pay this machine back and it's got to make some money. I would probably go with the Pro or a Premium if I was an operator. But anyways, I think what JJP wants to do is they're like, look, we have this gigantic license. I think it's pretty safe to say that this is probably going to sell well. You know what I mean? I mean, even if the game is just an average game, I think it's going to absolutely sell well because what a great theme for pinball. You know what I mean? Fantasy is such a great theme for pinball. So I think it's going to do well. But I really believe that they had a meeting over there and they said, guys, this IP is giant. We really have had struggles penetrating the on locations, bars and barcades and things like that. I think they've struggled there. But I do think there's value in having your games there because it's more exposure to the brand. So they're going to offer this arcade version at $10,000. And keep in mind, this arcade version might actually be pretty appealing to someone at home too because of the cost. Jersey Jack machines are expensive, but they're going to offer this arcade version at 10 grand. Sure, it's going to not have some of the signature Jersey Jack things. It's not going to have Invisiglass. It's probably not going to have the art blades. It's not going to have powder coated side armor. It's probably not going to have a shaker motor, but it's going to have the same play field. So the arcade, the LE, and the CE will all share the same play field. So you won't be missing any shots, anything, nothing, all the mechanisms. That's pretty cool because that definitely differs from their competition. Stern, I don't want to say strips out the pros, but Stern finds ways to make the pros, a cost-effective solution, but still kind of paying true to the game. Now, they didn't always do that, though. Sometimes they took out major gameplay elements, which totally changed the way the game played. And and some could argue that it was like a completely different game. Like I'll use Venom, for instance. I do not like Venom Pro. I really like the mechanism that changes the game. And that was the tagline of the game. Choose your character, change the game. That doesn't exist on the Pro, so it's kind of like it goes against it. Anyway, so there's some mistakes that Stern's made along the way. I think Stern's getting smarter now and going, hey, we got to equip the pros, especially right now where budgets are tight for people. It's like, hey, let's make the Pro as approachable and as complete as we can and not strip those things out. Because there have definitely been machines over the years where Stern's done that. So this is an interesting move by JJP because they're technically going to offer a cheaper version of their product that gives you a lot of the things you love from JJP, but oh, by the way, I'm thinking they're probably going to strip out the headphone jack thing, but I don't know that for certain. The other stuff I feel pretty confident and certain about. So I don't know. This arcade version might be, if the game is successful, right? If everyone's like, the reaction is good, they believe it plays well, that it's packed with things that bring you into the movie, right? Because I think that's the thing is, will this game suck me into that Harry Potter universe? Where, King Kong, it's interesting because Stern took the totally opposite approach and went, hey, we're just gonna make up our own story. And so that's interesting where Jersey Jack is trying to figure out, how do I make a pinball experience around a gigantic IP? So all right, let's go back to the models for a minute. So you've got the arcade version, and I think everything's going to be true. My guess would be that the arcade would probably also share the artwork of the wizard, but probably not have the radcals. It'll probably be just like a straight vinyl decal, which is something that they don't typically do, just to kind of get that cost in line. So 10 grand. I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable, and I kind of feel like they're not stripping that much stuff out of it. Now, I don't. My hope is that they offer all those things as accessories. So then, if someone just wants to add a couple of those things, like a shaker motor to me is part of the pinball experience. Like I want to have that, and art blades to me are also something that helps like create the world under glass. So I don't know. Art blades to me are not negotiable things. Like I always add those to games. Like they're in there no matter what. I need art blades. I don't know. I don't want to see black sides. That's just me. Even though I'm way more interested in playing the game and the gameplay, I just love that it ties everything together. And especially when done right, the manufacturer art blades usually tie in really well. And it's usually the same artist that did the playfield, so it looks great. So then you got the wizard version. That's your middle tier version. I expect you're going to have all of the same things you'd have on a regular JJP LE. So you'll have a topper that just isn't quite as feature rich as the CE topper, probably just plastics or something like that. And then of course the CE you're getting a feature rich topper and all these things. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with all of this. Like what do they do with the topper? What mechanisms they put into the game? How do they draw that world of the 8 movies into something that's cohesive that you'll want to play and feel like is a good experience? So it's very, very interesting times. I can't say I'm like a Potter super fan, but I can say that a theme like that does interest me, and I'm very, very curious to see what they do with this game. And this is just some personal opinions I have about Jersey Jack. So I filmed a video out there when they launched Avatar, just to go. It was Ken Cromwell, their CMO. And he reached out to me and he was like, hey, why don't you just come over? Like, no pressure. You don't even have to film anything. But he goes, look, I really like the way you approach this whole hobby. You're fair in your criticism, and you just seem to be an ambassador for the hobby. That was his words, not mine. And I said I was grateful. I was like, yeah, I'd love to come over. So I did, and I gotta say, like, it's a different vibe than Stern over there in the sense that Stern feels like a larger company that's more polished, I guess, like a little bit more corporate, maybe. And when you walk into JJP, it's maybe a little bit more gritty. Um, but I appreciate that at the same time. And everyone seems like a big giant family over there. That when I went there to film that tour, and actually he said I didn't have to film anything. He's like, I just want you to see our stuff, which I also appreciated because there was no pressure to make a video or do anything. It was just like Ken's like, look, man, I want you to see some other art, what we do, in our philosophy. And when I left there, I just felt like I became part of their family for that moment, right? For that moment I was there. Everyone was very sweet to me. They were very nice to me. I felt like they were willing to share and talk about anything that they actually could talk about. And it was clear to me that the product quality is probably the highest I've ever seen. Now, there are some boutiques that are pushing that, right? Like I would argue that Spooky, if I look at Evil Dead, which, by the way, we'll talk about that in a second. Don't forget, I need to remember. I have my spooky shirt on, so I'm going to do a little bit of shilling for spooky on this podcast. But the quality seemed great. It's very good, like very, very high quality. Now, the only thing that was kind of interesting is I didn't realize how much heavier a Jersey Jack pinball machine is than a Stern pinball machine. And I don't know exactly why that is. I don't know if they're using like denser wood or what it is exactly. I know they have like these gigantic metal rails under the playfield, and maybe that adds some weight. Maybe the fact that they have, I don't know. I don't know what adds the weight, but Maybe it's the components they use. Oh, you know what? They have a big cage around their CPU in the back, so I'm sure that doesn't. Everything just feels very solid. You know what I mean? And so I appreciated that, and I appreciate. So I guess why I'm bringing this up is there's no doubt that when I went over there, that there's passion in the building for pinball. Like there's a lot of passionate people over there. And so you want them to be successful because I think by size, they're probably the second largest pinball manufacturer in the world still. I think that's about where they are. I would think, especially by volume and sales. So I want them to have a win, but I don't feel like for me there hasn't been like a modern. There's a couple of Jersey Jack machines where I was like, man, if I could get my hands on that, I would love to have it. One of them was Pirates of the Caribbean, but those are like trying to find, trying to pan for gold. You just can't get them, and when you do find them, people want $30,000 for them. And there's a whole backstory as to why this. It's unfortunate, but I feel like the whole backstory around Pirates of the Caribbean is, and this sucks actually if you think about it. Jersey Jack almost got penalized for being transparent with their community. They brought those games, so they were trying to make the community a part of Pirates of the Caribbean experience before it got fully produced as like this is the production game. So they were bringing different various prototypes to pinball shows, and so there was like the three spinning disc from the movie in the middle of the playfield. And I don't know if I have this right, but I think the talk track, or I think the way it went is the mechanical engineering team over at Jersey Jack was just they were having reliability issues with this mechanism. So it wasn't that they didn't want to put this mechanism in, and it seemed like people really liked it at shows and stuff. So it's almost like they got people excited about something that was a prototype, and then when they had to take that mech out and put a different mech in that wasn't quite as detailed or it didn't quite work the same, it was almost like people lost interest, or I don't know. I don't know at that time because I wasn't a podcaster. So I don't know if people were like just slamming them. And I don't know. It's just really unfortunate because it's almost like they got screwed for being open with the community and saying, we want you to see the progress as it comes out. So we're going to bring it to shows. So that is one that I really, really enjoy. Dialed In is another one I really enjoy. I really like Elton John. I didn't have a lot of time to log on Elton John until more recently. I think said this on another podcast. It was Rob over at Electric Playground who taught me how to play it, or at least gave me some guidance of how to play it at the Wormhole during the Twippies. And Rob was like really, really enthusiastic and passionate about Elton John. And sometimes I can't get back past certain licenses. I'm like, oh, I just don't like Elton John. It looked beautiful, obviously. But I was like, it's Elton John. I'm not like the biggest fan of the music. And I think a lot of people our age aren't necessarily like gigantic Elton John fans. But when Rob was so enthusiastic and excited for me to play it and to teach me, which by the way, Rob, I really did appreciate that when you did that. When he left, I think he left and he was like teaching me how to do like the skill shots and stuff. And I was like, man, this game's actually really, really good. And I could see myself in the future picking up an Elton John if I can find one at a good price. I don't like it enough to pay full price for it, only because Jersey Jack games are expensive. And if I am going to buy one, I want it to be the one. And so I feel like this license is going to be, if they do it right, because they definitely fixed their flipper issue at Elton John. Elton John felt different. Now, I don't know. You could argue that Jersey Jack maybe didn't think they had a flipper issue because they're like, look, our flippers just feel different than, let's say, a Stern flipper does. Stern flippers are just real snappy, right? Real snappy, real responsive, strong. And I felt like theirs felt a little bit mushy and a little bit weak. And that had been the case for a long time. But I think if you maybe just got used to that, you just be like, oh, that's how a Jersey Jack plays. But I do think that was a smart move for them to resolve that or at least not resolve that, but make it more what people were comfortable with. Because I just feel like that's sort of, because Stern is the larger company and they're out there more, and a lot of the boutiques have also adopted similar flipper feels to Stern, even though Stern still has a very unique flipper feel. I just can't quite pinpoint it, but there's definitely something about it that just feels a little bit more responsive, a little more snappy. They sort of said, all right, we're going to do that. We're going to listen to the community. We're going to do it. So that will obviously probably roll into Harry Potter. I would imagine that's probably going to be the standard going forward. So if this thing plays good, I think this might be the game that people decide, the ones that were always on the fence about a Jersey Jack game. Now that you have the arcade edition, the Wizard's a little bit more expensive, but kind of in line with, I think it's a little cheaper than a, excuse me, sorry, a little bit cheaper than, I don't even know what those are. I don't even know what is a what is a middle tier? I thought it was 11.9. Let's see. I don't even know. That's really bad. Jersey, Jack. I'll just say Avatar, Ellie. Let's see. Oh, it is. It's 11.9. So it's $1,000 cheaper than a Stern Ellie. And I do think, I don't know. I think if you compared the two, yeah, the Radcals over the foiled art, I think the Radcals are definitely a better, better there. And then you're getting the shaker and all the other stuff. So I mean, it's in line. I do think you probably, I'd probably argue that a Jersey Jack LE is probably more. There's more value in a Jersey Jack LE as far as like the accessories and the things you're getting and the things they pack into it than a Stern LE. I think a Stern LE would be. It is interesting. I mean, I did some analysis on this. I'm not going to deep dive you guys on cost, but I did an analysis of the last 10 years to see if pinball prices had stayed with inflation or gone above the US inflation rate. The pro and premium are below US inflation rate. So I feel like those are, even though they're expensive, I'm not trying to say pinball's not expensive. I still think those are priced fairly. I think the LE is a little, it's like one of those things where you got to know going into the LE. Like, I really think this is the reality of it. Like, you need to know that you're buying the LE because you want something that they're only making a limited amount of, and you want it now. You want to be the first to get it. Now, that's a new thing. You don't get a topper with it like you do with an LE from Jersey Jack. So I just think they're probably in the LE is tracking above inflation. So you could argue that there's less value in an LE, but also if you get a premium, like you have to factor this in. If you get a premium and you add all the things you would do to the LE, are you close to that price? I still think you'd come in under it. I still think you would, with the exception of, I think if you had to do a cabinet expression light kit, those are pretty expensive. So I don't know. I've never done all the math to put it all together and see like if you got a premium and basically did almost everything, maybe outside of like the powder coated armor, like things you could buy as accessories, like would you actually get it close? I just wish on the LEs they would do things like Jersey Jack tends to just pack in a little bit more. But anyways, so that's what we know. You have arcade, you have wizard. So again, under their LE price, and then the CE, which is 14.9. So you're talking the CE is really expensive. So we'll see. Like, are they gonna do something to that CE where you're like, oh my God, I have to have it? Now they did decide they're not gonna cap the amount of CEs. And I know that has some people upset because they're like, oh, well, they're not collector's editions if you make as many as, if you'll make a ton of them, then it's not a collector's edition. But I think the philosophy over at Jersey Jack is that they don't want to see people not be able to get access to games that they want. I think that's sort of their mindset, at least. That's what it seems like to me, is that they just want to have access to it. But I can hear the argument from the community that, well, that does kill the collectability of it because now anyone can have it because they'll make unlimited. I mean, yeah, if you have 15 grand, burn a hole in your pocket, anyone can have it. So we'll see, man. I think the community is excited for Harry Potter. At least that's my read on it. And, it's just another new game. And with Jersey Jack, it tends to be one game a year, so that there's a lot of anticipation because that's a lot of waiting. I mean, a year isn't that long, but it seems like it when you're when you're old. I don't know. It's like I don't know, man. It's like, oh man, I gotta wait a year. So I don't know what happens after Harry Potter. Let's talk about that for a second. Like Steve Ritchie's probably the next one on deck, and then it'll be Mark Seiden again. I have no idea. That'd be interesting. If you guys have any rumors or know or kind of want to speculate as to what Steve Ritchie might be working on, that'd be really interesting because I have no idea. I think I've heard Top Gun, I've heard Matrix. There's been a couple other rumors. Top Gun, I don't know. I feel like even when I went to my last amusement expo and I played Raw Thrills Top Gun video game, I feel like that we waited a little long to get a Top Gun, but I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a theme. I feel like the Matrix would be. I like Top Gun, but I feel like the Matrix you could make way more pinball moments out of the Matrix than you could Top Gun, at least in my opinion. But I don't know. If you guys have heard a rumor about the next game after Harry Potter, let me know because I kind of have fun doing the speculation thing. But yeah, so that's where we're at. I was gonna pivot back to Spooky because I was talking about quality. Spooky, man, they are, and I know we talked about it on the JBS show, and I know it probably sounds like I just want to let you know, I paid my own money to buy a Evil Dead. No one's giving me an Evil Dead. I didn't get a discount on an Evil Dead. But I'm getting an Evil Dead. It actually comes Tuesday. And I'm very excited when I go to the bat After tournament night, I play Evil Dead. I really like the game. The shots are fun. It feels solid. Like it just feels I don't wanna say this because it sounds disrespectful, and I don't mean it to sound disrespectful. It doesn't feel like a spooky game in the sense that it feels like they've upped their quality so much that this is like the next level of their progression, and I think I don't know, I didn't talk to them personally, but it feels like they were trying to make a statement with this, right? Like, "Hey, we are going to build this to the best of our ability. We're going to take as much feedback and all the data about any issues and problems we've had in the past. No, and of course, they were addressing those things along the way as they made games. I think their quality has continued to get better. But this just feels like they put a stake in the ground. We're here, we're Spooky Pinball, and we are going to, this is our new benchmark. We're going to continue to get better. And so for a boutique pinball company, that it's really cool. And I was just listening to the Nudge Magazine's podcast, the Nudgecast. Go check them out if you haven't already. Ian's a good dude over there. And Bug was on, and man, it's just a cool. They have a really cool story over there as to like how the brand got established, and then just all the passionate people that work over there. So I'm really kind of excited. I think if I had to say like what company am I most excited to see what they'll do next, it's spooky. Like I'm really curious. And even though I'm not a horror theme, that's not like really something that speaks to me. I've said this on other podcasts. It's really cool when you can create a game with a theme that I don't care about, or I'm not interested in. But the gameplay, the quality, the shots, the overall feel of the game, the theme integration is so good that I still want to get it, despite the fact that like I'm not into the theme, is amazing. That means you just did a really good job. And I know I said this on another podcast too, but Christopher Franchi created approachable artwork for a theme that's really dark and gory and like, you know what I mean, campy, but he created an art package that also makes it approachable, where if you're probably an Evil Dead fan, you're like, that's really cool. But if you're not, you're like, this thing's beautiful. There's blood on it, but it's beautiful. Like, how does that even go together, right? Like, I don't look at things that are bloody and go, that's beautiful. But I look at that art and go, man, how the hell did he do that? Like, it's just really, really good. And I think if you're a good artist, you can make something approachable that maybe or take something that really, to me, Evil Dead is very I don't know, it's not mainstream, that's for sure. It's a cult thing. It is a cult following to Evil Dead. But if you can take something that like really the most of the general public is not really that into, and get people into it, I don't know. That's just a crazy that is a crazy feat to be able to do, especially with a pinball experience. So like, congrats to Spooky Pinball. I can't wait to get my game. It comes on Tuesday. I'll tell a little quick story really quick. And I don't want to upset anybody by this story, by the way. And I don't want you to think I got some special treatment. But basically, Pinball Star was going to Allentown Pin Fest. They're there right now. If you're watching this, I think this might be the day 2 of Allentown Pin Fest. And I, through my buddy Scott Parisi, who works with Todd over at TNT Amusements, he's like, hey man, I actually asked him, I was like, hey, do you know anybody that might have an Evil Dead? Because you couldn't get one. Like literally, they were all allocated for. You could not get them. So he's like, I think my buddy over at Pinball Star has some, because I think he bought like the last 30 of them or whatever. He's like, I know he's bringing some to Allentown Pin Fest. Let me see if you can buy the floor model. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't help me because I'm not in Pennsylvania. Then I got to get shipped. He's like, well, let me just look into it. So he puts me on a thread with the owner over there. Super nice guy, by the way, but his name is escaping me. And he goes, hey, I heard you might be interested in an Evil Dead. I do have one. You can buy the show floor one. Thing is, you're going to have to be responsible from getting it from Pennsylvania to your house. And I was like, okay, fine. I used to ship arcade games all over the country. Many of them, hundreds of them at this point, I've shipped with Beltman and some other shipping services. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. So I pay for the game. And I talked to Scott. I'm like, hey, Scott. Well, I asked Scott first. I didn't just pay for the game first. I asked Scott. I was like, Scott, are you cool with bringing this home? I don't want to burden Scott. You know what I mean? But he's always been so helpful. Anytime when I wanted a Metallica LE at one point, and he's like, dude, I got one. I should have pulled the trigger on that one, but I didn't. This was when it first came out, and the hype was all over the place. But I have my premium, and it looks pretty much just like the LE at this point. But anyway, so he's like, no, it's no burden to me, no problem. I don't mind getting it home. Just you'll have to just arrange the shipping. He was super nice and super sweet about it. So then, that was the plan. I had paid for it through Pinball Star, and that was the plan. So then a week ago, I get a message from the owner of Pinball Star, and he's like, "Hey, Bug reached out to me, and he's like, look, we don't want you to get a game that's been hammered on at the show. So this was just what Bug decided to do. He's just like, look, I'll send you one directly to your house, so you won't have the show game, and it makes it easier for you. And then we know at Spooky that when you unbox it, that you know what to expect. It's going to be a new out of the box thing. And then if you want to do an unboxing video, you can do that. They didn't even say that. I'm saying that, but they didn't say anything like because you're a YouTuber or anything like that. They didn't nothing. But I thought that was a really nice gesture because I think they were just like, look, if he's gonna make content on it, it would be a little bit more interesting if it was a new unbox. So they bit the shipping cost to make that happen. So I really do appreciate that. I haven't actually reached out to Bug directly, but I do have his cell phone now, so I'm gonna do that. And then they sent me this shirt. They sent me the Spooky shirt. So I guess I'm officially in the Spooky family, and I will have a Spooky game. That is a factory I would love to tour at one point too. I'm sure I would get the same feeling from them as I did at Jersey Jack, maybe just on a smaller scale because they're not as big. But I can tell just from listening to the Nudge Cast and Bug that, man, they have a lot of passion for pinball over there. And I had no idea. He's gonna kill me for saying this. I had no idea how young Bug is. I have a lot of I admire that a lot. That he's kind of a younger man who's really, I mean, he's running a pinball company. I mean, that is how freaking cool is that? So I don't know. That just I look at that and I work with Mason Conrad. He helps me with my video production. He helps me with editing and stuff like that. I know I do a lot of anything you see on my channel that's filmed for the most part is probably 99% me, maybe 95% me. But the editing at this point is almost exclusive to Mason. But I kind of focus on the audio and the video aspects of the project, and then the editing. I might give Mason guidance as to what I'm looking for, the vibe I'm looking for, and he handles the editing. And I just Mason is an entrepreneur. He's a younger kid, and like I always appreciate that work ethic and drive, and I feel like Bug is that guy. Like it's cool. Like and he's running a whole company. So I mean, I just think that's really awesome. I think it's cool. I look forward to getting to know the people over there a bit more because now I feel like I know the people over at Stern, really great people. I know the people over at JJP. I know only David Van Ness. Well, I guess I know Brian Savage too over at. I don't know them that well though, but I feel like I know Jersey Jack and Stern employees fairly well. Barrels of Fun's a newer relationship, David Van Ness, and actually I have something I have to say, and I don't mean this. David Van Ness is going to kill me for this, but I bought a Labyrinth. I traded my Black Knight Sword of Rage Pro for a Labyrinth. I'm a big fan of the Labyrinth movie, and I don't know. I just didn't love it. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying don't go buy it or don't go. 'Cause that's not what I'm saying. If you really love the Labyrinth, you'll probably really like the game. There's just something about it that I didn't like, and I don't know if it was just it felt different. Like the theme integration is cool. Like there's something like there's a if if you're familiar with the movies, there's a bog of eternal stench mode. And if you don't complete the mode, then all this anything you hit on the playfield after you don't complete the mode is a fart noise. Like I love that. It's just funny, right? It's just funny stuff like that. They have the helping hands. They have the little the nipper things. They have the dudes that take their head off. I don't even remember what those things are called. God, I look like hell today. Oh my gosh, if you're watching on the video, I look rough. Wow, I don't look very good. Anyways, I gotta get better. I gotta get a good night's sleep tonight or something. So yeah, I don't know. It just didn't speak to me, and so I ended up actually trading my Labyrinth for a 007 premium. And if y'all know me, if you know me, I had a Bond Pro and I got rid of it that I modded to all hell. And I always regretted getting rid of that game because that's a really, really fun game. So, anyways, no hard feelings to anybody over at Barrels of Fun. I enjoyed it, I guess, while I had it. It just wasn't a game for me, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's a game that just isn't for you. But that doesn't mean because it's not for me, it's not for you, right? So you definitely got to go and play it and experience it. But I'm glad I did, and I'm sure if I see it on location somewhere, I will absolutely play it because I did have fun with it. It just wasn't one I decided I wanted to keep bolted to the floor in my collection. I put probably like a good 250 games on it, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll revisit it in the future. But I will say Dune looks pretty cool. I have not watched the new movies. There's two of them, I think. I have not watched them. But Ian over at Nudge was like really urging me to watch them. He's like, dude, you're really gonna like them. Like he's like, you're really gonna like them. So I don't know. And they do some really cool things. I'll say like visually when you look at that Barrels of Fun Dune game, it looks really solid. Like it just looks cool if you're a Dune fan, and it integrates a lot of the things. I used to actually, I said this before on another podcast episode, but I used to play Dune 2, the game for PC, and I loved that game. So but I didn't really, and I watched the David Lynch movies a long time ago. I don't know why. In my mind, I feel like when I rented them, it was like a double VHS case. That's how I remember it. Because I think my buddy Ryan was like really into Dune. Because I remember watching it and being like, man, this is slow. Like it had exciting parts in it every now and then, but it was just slow. So I hope the new movies aren't slow like that. Because I don't know. I don't really like slow movies. I would rather have stuff that I don't mind character building and stuff, obviously. But if it gets too slow, I kind of lose interest. All right. Want to take some voicemails real quick because I haven't done that in a while. There's only 3 of them. If you guys want, really, I would love it if you guys would leave voicemails. So in the link of the description of this video, and if you're listening to it on Spotify, I'll put it in the comments or Apple Podcasts. Go leave me a voicemail, anything you want, about pinball, pinball repair, if I can answer that, what games I like, don't like, definitely do that. But we're going to do voicemails real quick. All right, the first one, it doesn't have a name. It says anonymous. So let's see what anonymous has to say. Hello. That is Pat Benatar, Love is a Battlefield. There we go.
In your newest podcast, you talked about pinball cult leaders, and you were definitely a gateway drug for me in pinball. I appreciate what you've done, Ralph, and I just look forward to you continuing in the hobby. Thank you.
All right, ready? That's awesome, man. I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. I wish you had said what your name is. I would have called you out, but that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. I do feel like I try to be an ambassador. I try to be a good lead by example and be a good positive force in the hobby. So I appreciate that. All right, next one says John from Canada. This one's labeled. If I can get my damn system to play these things, I don't know why they're not. It's not. There we go.
Hey, Retro Ralph. My name is John from Ontario, Canada. Luckily, I was able to secure to buy myself a limited edition King Kong. Man, they sold out fast, real quick. So hopefully that you get a chance to get one too, because you really like Stern pinballs.
That's very true. That's very true. I do like Stern pinball. Man, I don't know why my editor keeps trying to play different songs. Okay, so John, I didn't know they sold out. I don't think that's true yet, but maybe if you're from Canada, maybe the distros in Canada sold out. I do think they're still available in the United States if you want a Kong LE specifically. John, I am happy that I got the LE because I got it early, but I do think in this instance, had I thought about it a little bit more and didn't jump the gun, and if I didn't care about getting something earlier and having access to it earlier, I think the premium would have made the most sense on this one. But it is beautiful. I mean, we unboxed it. The one thing I think like was kind of a miss on it though is like they put the powder coated side armor on all the LEs. They went with like a black and then like there's like a gold accent in it. I kind of feel like they could have done something a little more with the side armor. Like I feel like it's underwhelming on the side armor. I don't know. It's weird. Normally I get real hype for the LEs, and on this one I'm not so much. But I already bought it, and it's here. I'm not getting rid of it. And in the game, man, Kong has so much potential. It's good in its current state, but if they do what they did with the code on Jaws, or Godzilla, or even Jurassic Park for that matter, this will be in a top list of games for sure. I don't think people need to get off this whole dethrone Godzilla thing. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think it's going to be known as one of Elwyn's great games. I really do. It is so fun to shoot. It is so fun to shoot. Like, I can't even stress that enough. It is so fun. There's that little bank of drop targets seems, oh, it's just a bank of drop targets in the top left, and you have the little flipper. I'm finally starting to master. I didn't do it so well with it on the live stream. I'm definitely starting to master the blocker that blocks your ball from going down the river. If you can work that just right, you can spend some time in that drop target area, but also there's like this fun shot right there that you can hit from that little flipper too. It's like almost directly in line with it. There's just a lot of that's really fun. I do find qualifying the multi-ball by with those drop targets is really fun for King Kong multi-ball. The spider, I don't know. I told you guys I wasn't that into the spider before. I still don't really love the way it looks. It's kind of cool what it does, but I hope someone makes a mod for that spider that makes it look different. I don't know why I don't like it just has this like look to me that it looks cheesy, but I guess you could argue it kind of fits with the way they did the theme artwork. I don't know, but John, congrats on your LE. I think you're gonna really, no matter what, you're gonna really love the game. The game is freaking fun as hell. All right, we got one more voicemail and then we'll wrap this show up.
Hey, Ralph, remember that time I sent you a book called Crowdfunded Superheroes, which was about superhero characters becoming social media influencers, and Retro Ralph was a superhero and then one of the side characters?
Okay, I need to do some explaining here. So Chad is someone I went to high school with. I had not talked to Chad in probably like, I don't know, 20 years or something, maybe longer than that. And I had done a lot. I was doing live streams during COVID, and he was joining the live streams. So it was cool. I really loved this guy in high school, and I'll tell you why. He's very artistic, and he would always be writing. So it's really cool that he's become an author in his adult life because he was just always creative. And the one thing about Chad that was so cool is Chad sat behind me in like maybe math class. I can't remember. He was either in front of me or behind me. I can't remember. But the cool thing about Chad is I could give Chad a concept. Like him and I were, he was goofy and like I was goofy. So I would tell him stuff. Like I remember I told him this one thing because our principal would come into the room sometimes and his pants were jacked up so high that I was like, I looked at Chad one time. I was like, it kind of almost feels like his because he wore suspenders. I was like, his suspenders are around his ears, holding his pants up, and he has to unzipper his zipper and open up his fly to talk, and then he zips it back up and walks out of the room. And Chad like built a series of like animations with in my vision, and he nailed it. Like I always appreciate creative people. Mason's the same way. I give him a vision. And I know what I want to do, but he has a skill that I don't have. Like I can't animate things. I don't know how to do Adobe After Effects and all that stuff, and he does. So, anyways, so Chad did send me this book. I did not know. Maybe he told me this, but I did not know I was a character in this book. So I guess the premise of the book, which I have to read now, is action heroes becoming social media influencers or something like that. So let's continue to listen to it. I did not listen to this yet, so let's go through and listen to it, and then we'll see what else Chad has to say.
Well, that book is now available for Audible audiobook.
Cool.
And my question is, do people who do pinball tournaments, do they ever listen to music or audiobooks on headphones while they're playing pinball?
Okay, so Chad's asking, do people? It's cool. Congrats, Chad, that it's available on audiobook. He's asking if people listen to music when they play pinball tournaments or something. They absolutely do, Chad. I tried that. It wasn't good for me. I think there are people that like to just stay kind of, I don't know, locked in on the game. And I think music helps them do that. I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. But yeah, they do. I don't know if people listen to audiobooks, but they definitely listen to music.
Like, is that a thing? Do they like drown out the other noise and
it's totally a
while
thing.
playing pinball? Is that a thing? Because if you want to listen to an audiobook where Retro Ralph is a superhero while beating him at pinball, crowdfunded superheroes, now on Audible.
All right. Well, Chad, I am going to absolutely put that. I will put a link to your book on Audible in the if people are interested. I didn't really realize until more recently that I'm a character in the book. So I'd love to know like what what you wrote about me in the book. So I'm definitely going to need to either listen to it or read it. So yeah, I'll have a link to the book in the physical form and also the audio book. That's really cool. Thanks, Chad, for the message. But yes, people do listen to music. They do it to, I think, drown out the rest of the arcade noise. All right, we're coming up on an hour. I really appreciate everybody joining. I hit the outro music here, but I'm having such a blast. I think the next podcast I do. Let's see. I'm trying to think about this. Yeah, then I'm gonna guess that by the next podcast I do, Harry Potter may be out into the world. So we will be absolutely talking about deep diving and discussing Harry Potter as well as the rest of the pinball community, because I can tell you, I think I don't know. I feel it. I can feel it. Do you think Jersey Jack needs a win? When have they had a game that everybody wants? And they now have an IP in the top 3 IPs in the world. I think it goes either Star Wars, Pokemon, Harry Potter, something like that. They're in the top 3. I mean, right there. How often as a company do you have that opportunity? I know they know how big this opportunity is. I can't imagine they're gonna mess this up. I wouldn't want them to. I want everybody to succeed. I want these companies to succeed. The more of this stuff we get out there, the more they can keep making them if we're supporting the companies. I mean, obviously we want them to be making a product we all want, but I don't know, man. I want Jersey Jack to get a win. So let's see what happens. Let's see if the community embraces it, and we'll hopefully see it in the next couple weeks. But guys, thank you so much. That's it. That's all I got. I'm gonna go play some Kong later. It is my wife's, actually, if you're listening to this still and you're still here, it is Kim's 40th birthday tomorrow. So definitely wish her a happy birthday. She would really appreciate that. And we will see you on the flip side. Take care, guys. Love this song, man.